Bible, I know.
Hello, folks. This is Ross Fleming, Fleming Recordings, Nelson, speaking to you from the home of Mrs. H.A. McKowan, Cranbrook. Now, Mrs. McKowan was known to me when I used to come up here for the musical festivals and to get experience, because we had started in 1930 in Nelson, and the more festivals I could attend, the more I was able to help our local organization. And Mrs. McKowan at that time was a correspondent for the Nelson Daily News and was always on hand, and we had several conversations at the festivals, and I had the good fortune at one time to be a house guest, a dinner guest at her home. Now, Mrs. McKowan, what is your full name? That is your maiden name and your maiden name. It would be fine, because we know you're Mrs. H.A. McKowan.
My maiden name was Evah Cartwright.
Evah Cartwright. Now, where were you born, Mrs. McKowan?
Near Hamilton, Ontario.
Hamilton, Ontario. And when did you come to B.C.?
1900. 1900.
And your husband's occupation, I know, was a lumberman. Was he a lumberman before he came to Cranbrook, or where did you meet Mr. McKowan?
He came before I did. We met here.
You met here. Mm-hmm. And were you married here?
Yes.
They were married in Cranbrook. And his occupation was what?
He was a lumberman here.
In a lumber business in the early days, and continued until he died. And what year was that?
Oh, he was 70 years old. It's 12 years ago now, figure it out. 12
years ago, that would be 48, wasn't it? 1948.
I think it was 47, actually.
47, I see. Well, that's fine. Now, I was very sorry to read at the time, because I knew Mr. McKowan too. He was a very gracious man, and I'm looking right at his picture now. And I knew Mrs. McKowan's family, girls. Now, where are the girls, Mrs. McKowan?
3 daughters here and 1 in Albany, New York. All married.
All married. And the one in Albany, New York, for instance, what are the occupations of their husbands?
Well, a banker in Albany, and various things here. I have one son-in-law who's a lumberman here, and one who's in the local radio, and one who is in the local hardware, Parks Hardware.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine. Now, I think that pretty well covers the family tree, does it?
Mm-hmm. I have 10 grandchildren. Don't be
10 grandchildren. Oh, no, you mustn't. You could even put their names down if you wanted to.
Well, not necessarily.
No, I see.
Let's make it sure.
Well, 10 grandchildren is fine. I've got 15, I think it is now.
Oh,
so
I can't be bragging then.
No. Well, that's very good, just the same. Now, Mr. McKowan, being in the lumbering business, the methods at that time were quite different than they are now, aren't they?
Absolutely. We used horses and ice roads in the winter, no trucks at the beginning.
Yeah.
And
the loading was pretty well all done by hand, wasn't it?
Yes, quite.
I thought it was a wonderful advance when they got those rollers on the back axle to run the load off the sleigh. Because previous to that, they were each piece of lumber had to be loaded onto the wagon or sleigh by hand and taken off in the same way. There's a terrific difference in the way they handle them now with their lifters and so on. Have you any other remarks to make in regard to the original methods and present-day methods?
Well, it's quite a time ago. I don't remember what all they were,
Mm-hmm.
but it was very different.
Yes. Yes, it was.
And there were no motors, of course.
Now, no, of course not. I believe you had some hobbies too besides writing for the paper, didn't you?
Well, I don't know. I did some other writing. That's about all. Very fond of sports.
What other writing did you do?
Quite a lot of magazine articles and 2 books.
2 books, eh? Could you give us the name of the books?
Well, one was Janet of Kootenay, which is almost forgotten here, I think, and the other was Graydon of the Windermere.
Oh, yes. Well, now, Janet of Kootenay, would that have a historical aspect to it?
Yes, it did have.
Mm-hmm.
In the Kootenay area, not the other one so much, but they both were in this area.
I suppose is that book would be in the library, would it be?
It is in the local library, yes.
It is in the local library.
I wouldn't know about anywhere else.
I suppose it's pretty hard to say whether any of them are available now.
Well, I'm hanging on to what I have, I assure you.
Yes, I'll bet.
No, I don't think they are, because I had to go as far away as Winnipeg to buy a few more to have extras for myself.
Is that so?
They were out of print.
Yes. Well, what I have been trying to do, I've been trying to get the loan of books or buy books that have a historical aspect to them, in order to give the color to the history of the Kootenays. Yeah. And that is one of the objects of this program.
With keeping what I have for my family, I wouldn't have anything.
No.
Not for many years I haven't had.
No. We call this program, at the suggestion of the radio station from here, CKK, from whom I've had splendid cooperation. We're calling the program, as per their suggestion, Tales of the Kootenays.
Yes.
And
but Mr. Smythe wrote a very good book that you need.
Yes,
which is really more historical and better than what I'm.
Yes. Well, through the kindness of Vincent Fink, who used to be in Cranbrook, I have I have the loan of a copy of Fred's book, and I'm rather pleased to boast about the fact that he included my name among the pioneers of Nelson.
Of course.
So, although I didn't think I deserved that, because I feel that I was not one of the pioneers, that my father and mother were the pioneers, and I was a son of a pioneer. And I feel very humble about it, but at the same time I was rather grateful to Fred, who I knew quite well, and was here at the time that I used to come up to visit the festivals, and I was very grateful to him to remember me to that extent. And I also remember Mr. Snowden and Sojan, was it? And Mr. Collier? Sorgine.
Yeah.
I see. And Mr. Collier. They were the two that sort of stand out. One was the secretary, and the other the president of the festivals. Yes. And they were good workers.
Jodine happened to be that because he was the federation that brought them in to everywhere.
Oh yes, the association.
Oh, I can't think of it. I should have mentioned.
Well,
let it go.
It'll come to us. But those were really busy and happy days, and so I became acquainted a bit with Cranbrook at that time, and I hope to more and more as the time goes on. And I was pleased to, and then I came up here with a couple of times with the Nelson City Band to take part in the competitions here. Now, could you give us some reminiscences of little anecdotes of any of the early day happenings, or anything that you care to say about the early days?
I haven't thought of it. I need to think of it. I don't think that I can.
Well, I'm taking you a bit by surprise, of course.
You certainly are. I used to teach at the North Star Mine.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is above Kimberley. It's been wiped out now.
Yeah.
Board by board, it's been carted off.
Oh, yes. You're a school teacher.
Yes, I was.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I see.
And then in Cranbrook for 3 years, after which I was married.
Oh, yes, I see. Mm-hmm. Well,
But I don't think of any anecdotes or anything that I would sit down and write about, although I've done quite a bit of it, but they don't come to me now.
Well, sometime in the future, when I'm up here again, why, I'll give you a little notice, and we'll have another little interview. But it's been certainly been a great pleasure to meet you again today, and to see you. And
well, I'd a lot rather have a chance to think it out a bit.
Yes.
First.
Well, that's only fair, because I've come out. I'm finding that out, of course, on this trip. I didn't know who to contact, really. I didn't even know Mr. Almack before I came, nor Mr. The other gentleman,
Hutchison?
Turner. No, not Turner. No, the man in the BC telephone. But I hadn't known he's the president of the Historical Association. Hunter, Mr. Hunter.
Yes, great.
I didn't know them until I got here, you see. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who the officers were. So, and of course we realized...
It'll be way easier another time.
Yes, we'll be able to make appointments ahead of time.
Yes.
But I want to thank you very, very much for the privilege of coming into your home and having this interview.
I feel I've done less than nothing, and I'd rather didn't even use it.
Well, we've even got acquainted with you again, and it's been a pleasure, and thank you very much.
Yes, you've been very welcome.